2024 is 29.5 billion, while cumulative is 455.1 billion. We have the number of housing units for last year, 1,033 and 39,425 from inception. The rent to own, we have so far done 875 this year and 1,245 since the introduction of the product last year. And the home renovation loan, so far we have done 7,749 individuals who have benefited for last year, and then from inception, 125.65 million. Now, our achievements and other initiatives of the bank, very quickly, I will just crave your indulgence to run through them. The NHF compliance states, over the past 5 years, some states of the Federation resumed deductions because we have had occasions where workers have had reason to withdraw from the scheme. But so far, we had 34 states plus FCT, but just 2 weeks ago, we used to have Oyo and Kano states not contributing to the scheme, but Kano state returned 2 weeks ago, and now we have only Oyo state, and we are making a lot of efforts to get them back. And then improvement in our turnaround process. Distinguished Chairman, sir, one of the legacy issues that the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria has had is the issue of turnaround, because people will complain that they apply for loans and they wait forever without getting feedback from the bank in terms of approval of their loans. So we did, the first retreat that we did was on turnaround time, and a lot of our process of engineering has been undertaken and is still ongoing. And we have been able to reduce our turnaround time by as much as 60%. For example, the NHF refund process reduced from 6 to 12 months to within 90 days now. And 90 days is actually what was provided in the Act as the maximum period through which a retiree should actually get his refund. Now, we're also collaborating with certain agencies of government like the FISH program, where we have provided a number of houses through the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation for civil servants to access mortgages. So far, we have provided 164 housing units valued at 1.53 billion naira for this scheme. We have also developed a new strategic partnership for the bank through a 5-year strategy blueprint, which is intended to reposition the bank for improved mandate delivery. And the 5-year strategic plan has the following targets. One is to increase the NHF contributor base by additional 3.8 million new subscribers, and the NHF collection to also get an additional injection of 963 billion. New homes stroke origination of additional 50,000 mortgages is also our target, and the reduction over time for the attainment of the industry of 10% as maximum non-performing loans ratio by the year 2026. We are also automating our business processes. The bank sought and obtained the approval of the Federal Executive Council to deploy the Oracle 12C database software solution, which is intended to fast-track our operations generally, to reduce paperwork and generally improve efficiency. So we have also launched the digital platforms to usher in a new era of transparency and accountability through the *219# USDD shortcode. The platforms enable contributors to receive instant notification, check records of NHF contributors on the go, update NHF personal records, check NHF balances, etc. The greater transparency, clearer disclosure, and convenient access to records of contributors from the comfort of homes and offices, or while on the go via personal computers or mobile phones, have boosted confidence in the scheme. The bank is also in the process of deploying the enterprise core banking application for full automation of its business processes. On 6.6, we have progress on updating financial records. As of 2023, the bank had, in fact, last year when we came in, the bank had arrears of annual accounts since 2018 to 2023. In the 9 months of the new management of the bank, we have been able to substantially clear this backlog by obtaining CBN approval for 4 accounts for the 4 years 2020, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. We are working further with the CBN to make sure that within this quarter, the remaining outstanding accounts are approved. Right now, they've approved the 4 years. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished Chairman, sir, we have also some challenges which I will crave your indulgence to quickly talk about, sir. I refer to the issue of our low capitalization, sir. Since the bank was established, the capital base of the bank is just 5 billion naira, out of which only 2.56 billion has been paid. Federal government 2.5 billion and central bank 60 million. And even we finance over 30 primary mortgage institutions. Even the primary mortgage banks are more recapitalized than we are. And this, to a large extent, affects our operations because we do generate profit in the course of our normal operations, but we are unable to usually make remittances to government because our efforts are normally eroded by the low capitalization. So we have a negative capital. And so we have made a proposal for the recapitalization of the bank to the tune of 500 billion. In fact, so we went as far as through the leadership of the Honorable Minister to make a presentation to the Federal Executive Council. But we have been asked to go and engage stakeholders and also deal with one aspect, which is the amendment of our act, because so that we can amend the portion of the act that provides for the capital of the bank. And on the amendments, we have been to the National Assembly as a bank. We got the House of Reps and the Senate graciously approved the amendment of the two bills, one the FMBN Act and then the NHF Act. Unfortunately, we could not obtain presidential assent due to a disagreement in a portion of that by some stakeholders in the private sector. And we have engaged those stakeholders, and we would crave your indulgence, Your Excellency, that we are going to come back to the National Assembly so that we can get this act passed, so that we can amend some of these critical provisions. Then we also have a challenge with the central bank's application of what is called the single obligor limit. The act establishing the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria provides that the bank shall not lend to primary mortgage banks more than 50% of their shareholders' funds unimpaired by losses on an annual basis. But the CBN insists on the application of this provision on a cumulative basis. So what that has impaired the capacity of the PMBs to borrow from us. And the nature of our operations is such that we normally, any interested individual who contributes to the National Housing Fund will apply for a mortgage loan as provided by the Act through a primary mortgage bank. We aggregate these applications, and when they are approved, we pass them through the primary mortgage bank for on-lending to the individual beneficiaries. The experience we have is that we would have houses standing, individual Nigerians that are ready to take these houses are available, they would have applied, we would have approved, but we cannot disburse to the PMBs because the CBN's application of this obligor limit insists that the PMB can no longer borrow because they have exceeded that limit. And so, as at last year, we had 25.8 billion naira that were approved for Nigerians, which they could not access because of this provision. But I must acknowledge, sir, that we have engaged the CBN at the highest level, and we have also had the assistance of the National Assembly, particularly the House of Reps, actually called for a public hearing where the central bank, the minister were all invited, and some progress has been made. I will crave the indulgence, the kind indulgence of the Senate, of this honorable distinguished committee, to also put in a word for us with the CBN so that we can accelerate access to mortgages for Nigerians. Then we also have the act establishing the bank also provides that banks and insurance companies, I have this on page 7, item 7.4, that banks and insurance companies are required to contribute 20% of their life funds, insurance companies of 20% of their life funds, and 10% of their non-life funds to the National Housing Fund, while commercial banks are to contribute 10% of their total loan portfolio to the fund as contribution, if you like, something in the semblance of corporate social responsibility. But the contribution is not to be free, it is supposed to be an investment, you know. But because of the relative low interest, because the essence of creating the National Housing Fund is to provide affordable housing to Nigerians. So because of that, the interest that is available to be paid is relatively low compared to commercial interest. So since the establishment of the bank, no insurance company and no commercial bank has ever complied with this act. We have engaged the National Assembly during the amendment of the act, and the CBN was actually invited, where they indicated that the provision of the act was not implementable. And I recall that the National Assembly took great exceptions to that and requested the CBN to go back and make a recommendation as to what is possible that can be implemented. So in the course of our engagements with the stakeholders, including the CBN, we have agreed now to make that provision out of the profit after tax. And so you will also find that when we come back to the National Assembly to amend the act. Then one other key challenge, sir, is that just like FHA, we are not on federal budget. We are funded from the 2.5 contributions that we collect from Nigerian workers, which is a fund that we manage very jealously, because when people retire, they are expected to be refunded their full amount with interest. So during the implementation of the 40% deductions by the federal government, there have been erroneous deductions that have been made from collections that are supposed to be National Housing Fund collections that were misconstrued as revenue.